Why were the skeletons of over 15 people found in Benjamin Franklin's basement? And it's not what you'd expect. You may remember Benjamin Franklin as one of America's founding fathers and signer of the Declaration of Independence. However, he was also an incredibly accomplished writer, scientist, inventor, printer, publisher, statesman, diplomat, and philosopher. And he's also on the $100 bill. Before the Revolutionary War from 1757 to 1775, Benjamin Franklin lived at 36 Craven Street in London, England, while he was serving as a diplomat. He rented from Margaret Stephenson, whose son-in-law William Hewson was a surgeon and good friend of Benjamin Franklin's. At the time, the study of anatomy was becoming increasingly popular. However, there was very little hospital teaching on the subject. In response, Hewson decided to open up his own anatomy school at the Craven Street house where he also lived. At the time, anatomy lessons were dark and ethically ambiguous. Dissecting bodies was illegal until 1832, so Hewson had to get his cadavers from resurrectionists, which were pretty much just grave robbers. Craven Street was an ideal location because bodies could be delivered to the wharf at one end of the street, and at the other end of the street were gallows, which was another good source. Instead of trying to sneak the cadavers out of the house and risk being caught when he was done with them, Hewson simply buried them in the basement. And in 1998, when conservation work began on the house, over 1,200 human and animal bones were discovered. They were buried in a 1 meter wide, 1 meter deep pit in a secret windowless room in the basement below the garden. The bones were estimated to be 200 years old and buried at the time Franklin was living in the house. The majority of them also showed signs of having been dissected, sawed, or cut. Along with the bones, other items for anatomical study at the time, such as microscope slides, were found. A key piece of evidence linking the bones to Hewson's anatomy school was the finding of a turtle spine and mercury in the pit. In a famous experiment at the Royal Society, Hewson highlighted the lymphatic system by showing the flow of mercury through a turtle. Hewson has been called the father of hematology for his work isolating a key protein in the blood coagulation process that he called coagulable lymph, aka fibrin. Studying anatomy at the time was risky and dangerous, and Hewson contracted sepsis during a cadaver dissection. He died on May 1, 1774 at age 34. Since Benjamin Franklin was a good friend of Hewson's and a curious scientist himself, it's safe to assume that he knew what was going on and probably snuck down to the basement to catch a dissection or two.